Hi, Shady Grove. I'm Chris McLean, lead pastor, and it's a joy to be with you today. You know that one of my favorite scriptures is Philippians 1:6. God who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. And we are seeking to be faithful to God and letting God complete something in us and also get something started in us. We had said that for this year in ministry, for 2020, one of the things we wanted to open ourselves up to was finding a simple tool, a simple way to have a conversation as individuals and as a congregation, conversations with our friends beyond church and in our community about how we can grow in faith. What would be the next step for us to identify sort of where are we now and what comes next? I think that's an important question because we do long to be brought to completion, and that's something that God brings. And one of the ways that really helps God bring that completion to our lives is when we can pause and ask that question, sort of open ourselves up like a book and let God read us a little bit and help us know how to turn that next page. In order to go about this, we've decided to use something called the Real Discipleship Survey. It's really just a rudimentary instrument. There's no scientific way to measure somebody's discipleship. That would be like saying we could come up with a test that perfectly measured Jesus, which is like saying we could perfectly measure God, which we believe would be impossible because God's too big for that. So it's just an instrument that's a conversation starter. The way it's put together is it takes 6 aspects of faith that we can look all through Christian history and see there's certain things that are continually ways that Christians are formed. One would be worship, another is service, and so on. And then we would look at those 6 things at 4 different stages in that. One is the stage of just being curious about that, being curious maybe about prayer, attracted to it, but maybe not sure what you think about it. That's exploring. Or getting started with things and being ready to give it a try. That's beginning. Or making a commitment and delving deep to learn about that prayer or about scripture. That's growing. And if you get to a place where you've grown enough that you feel confident that you can help someone else begin, now you're at maturing faith. And so you take 6 times 4 and you get 24. Well, the Real Discipleship Survey put together by EMC3 Coaching really is just that. It is 24 boxes. It's 6 times 4. It's 6 rows and 4 columns. And they've made a sentence for each thing. They've made a sentence for somebody just getting interested in worship, and somebody who's worshiped so long they can help someone else along the way, somebody who's gonna give it a try with service, and someone who's been really trying to grow deep and discover their gifts to serve. And so they made a sentence for each kind, a beginner of this and a grower in that and a mature person in that. They're not perfect sentences. You might not have worded things the same way, but you click the one. Not that you like the wording of most. That's what you always hear in the psychology test and personality test. Don't do that with this. Do the one that you think most resembles a sentence that reflects where you are now, whether you're teaching someone, whether you're growing deeper. Again, they're not perfect sentences, but you pick one from each category and it will come back with showing you whether you're in that growing or maturing, beginning or exploring, and it'll give you some recommendations on that. When that happens, though, you also have the advantage of your results, not your personal results, but the aggregate of the whole church comes back to us, and we can see about how many people are at that mature stage or that exploring stage, and that's going to help us as a church do a much better job of helping you take the next step. And that's what we're most excited about. So I hope that you will take that version where you click on the boxes. But it is more accurate if you know how that test is put together. And there's a better conversation to be had if you journal through that long method that we wrote out and put on the website for you. So I hope that you will take the time and just open your life up like a book, approach it as a prayer time. If you get a result that comes back and calls you a beginner, it's something that you think you should have been really good at, please don't get offended. When I took this, I came back as a beginner in spiritual disciplines. And really, that's an okay result for me. It is true that I teach other people about spiritual disciplines, but during the pandemic in a different shape of living, I feel like I'm starting over in exploring what is the next right thing for me to focus on and get deeper on. So sometimes we get to a certain level of growth and then we kind of go back through the same lessons even deeper. So don't worry, it's certainly not a grade. It is a good place to start talking, and that conversation with you and your neighbor, with you and God, is going to help you know what might be the next step for you. There's going to be a link where you can contact the church and ask for some support. Your pastors and staff are ready to talk with you. We also have members of our lay leadership committee who are ready to talk with you about the next right steps. I hope that you'll do that, because it is a beautiful thing to move toward that completion that God has for us. We find that with every step we take with God, that somehow everything in our life, things that seemed heavy, become lighter, because we are not alone. Best of all, God is with us. I hope you'll take an active engagement and just put this devotional message into very concrete use, and I look forward to sharing the results with you. Blessings.